At the office of the Premier.
So the memorandum reads like this. The Eastern Cape is an important part of the fibre that makes up the tapestry of our country's rich heritage. Not only did our magnificent province provide us with leaders who fought valiantly against the oppressive system of apartheid, it's also the most beautiful province. Our coastline is unparalleled in beauty and holds extraordinary economic potential due to the richness of our marine reserves. These resources, if properly harnessed, can be an important key to unlock economic growth and improving our ecotourism offering that can go hand in hand with our land-based wildlife tourism offerings. This economic potential can only be maximized through sustainable utilization and not through dirty, exploitative utilization like using car power ships. The vast tracts of high yet largely fallow agricultural land belies the pervasive poverty and lack of unemployment and development in our province's rural hinterland. Premier, you yourself admitted that the ANC has let the people of the rural areas of this province down. Actionsa has embarked on a campaign to assess the true state of the province at the start of this year. Prior to the SONA and prior to the SOPA, we went to you to ask you, where does the shoe hurt your foot? And these are some of the issues that were highlighted by you. Education in this province is in a dire strait. Yes, we had a 74% matric pass rate, but we have the highest attrition rate of all the provinces. So we lose more children between starting school and ending school than any other province. The Eastern Cape has over 5,200 schools, 3,000 of which are without adequate sanitation, with over 1,000 schools still using pit latrines. Now, they die in pit latrines. This, despite the Department of Education promising to eradicate pit latrines by the end of 2022-2023 fiscal year through the Sanitation Appropriate for Education SAFE initiative. That promise has not been met. Despite all of this, the Eastern Cape Education Department forfeited 2.5 million rand. They gave it back to Treasury. There's a critical shortage of competent and committed teachers, and the department continually does nothing about that. All the schools in the province depend on and benefit from the National School Nutrition Program. But in this province, the schools were told that there's going to be a 1.5 month delay. Schooling and education does not stop for 1.5 months while the food stops. Scholar transport. An example of this is a school called Nkwezana, just outside Buffalo City. My colleagues went to Nkwezana. It was built in 1994. It's still being built. They're still in temporary classrooms. In fact, a 58 million rand contract has come to an end because since it was being rebuilt from 1994. And I want the officials to listen to this very carefully. Sino universities in this province, universities that have educated the leaders of this continent, Fort Hare. Not only are people being murdered there over tenders and contracts, politicians are being given phony degrees at Fort Hare. What does that do? It undermines and derides every other graduate from Fort Hare. They're starting to ask themselves, because we've got people, politicians, that have graduated there with postgraduate degrees, but they don't have undergraduate degrees. And then Walter Sisulu University, Mr. Mashaba, our second biggest university here in the former Ciskei and Transkei. It has been battling with the accreditation problems for the last 4 or 5 years. That means graduates that have left that university have graduated with something that has not been accredited. That is a total waste of time and energy. Crime. The Eastern Cape is now the crime province, with New Brighton is now the crime capital of South Africa. New Brighton in Nelson Mandela Bay. kulapho khona yi-crime capital of the country. Amapolisa wethu abasakwazi asisabathembi. We don't trust them anymore. Amapolisa ebusuku bajika police station ngoba bayoyika kwabona. Kodwa thina siphila phantsi kwaloo meko. If you are raped in the Eastern Cape, in a rural part of this province, there are no gender-based violence tutuzela facilities for omama bayochaza azikho. We went to the Mount Fletcher police station. It's been under construction and repair for 12 years. 12 years, Mr. Mashaba. They're still in temporary offices. They are still in temporary offices. And that's the state that we are under in this province. There's Lalin, used to be a picture of pastoral peace in this province, where people lived in harmony. Now, is Yobis and crime have taken over rural areas. You know, when I used to go to rural areas, they used to say, hi, Zinkela, the roads are the problem. Their first crime is Yobis in their crime. It's unbelievable what has happened to this province. The infrastructure, Ingela Zeta Zambik, is Kakulas Lalin, and in farming areas. Imibhobho yamanzi qaphukile amanzi ahamba nje umbani awukho ngoba kubiwa i-cables ne-infrastructure ayikho into ehoyiwayo. A perfect example in Nelson Mandela Bay, community halls have been stripped right in front of police stations. Umzekelo, Allen Ridge Hall is in front of the Kamesh police station and in front of the SAPS detective officers. They have carried that whole community hall away. It's gone. Phambi kwamagosa karhulumente, phambi kwamapolisa, phambi kwabantu bebefuneke beyikhusela indawo enjalo. Hayi, infrastructure yethu phelile. Local government and traditional affairs. And nansi indlu zenkosi zethu, House of Traditional Leaders. Hayi, yabona konsebenzwana phakathi kwe-province ne-House of Traditional Leaders. Ngoba kwabe bibikhona iilali zethu bekule meko zikuyo. If there was cooperation and respect between these officers and those officers of traditional leaders, we wouldn't have the problems in the rural areas that the poor people of this province have to live with. Pollution, hayi ke, i-toilet, i-sewage, ihamba ngendlela. But ayiphelele endleleni. Sewage doesn't just run down the roads, Mr. Mashaba. It never gets to water treatment plants. It doesn't get to water purification plants. It just sometimes runs right through them, or it runs down the road into our rivers, into our coastline. Ayisahoyeki i-toilet yethu. And yazi sonke siphila ngalamanzi. We irrigate, we try and export food all over the world. If fruit is found with E. coli on it, gets sent straight back to South Africa, and all our rivers are full of E. coli. Agriculture. You know, kunini sixelelwa ngeliphondo lethu elityebileyo kodwa imihlaba ilele nje. We, out of this 64.5 billion rand of exports out of the Eastern Cape, 51.1 billion was from motor vehicles and parts. Agriculture is still limping along. Why, Mr. Mashaba? Because people don't own their land, and because they don't own their land, they don't work their land, and because they don't work the land is unproductive. Abantu balamba emhlabeni ekhona umhlaba omninzi qha bayawudinga apha kweli phondo. Hayi ke, corruption. Here. Corruption. I don't have to tell you about the corruption. Kodwa apha kweli phondo, hayi, corruption iyanda nje kamnandi. Everybody who is in government is implicated in corruption. Read the paper every day, watch TV, yabona elinye igosa, another councillor, another mayor, all implicated in corruption.
That's criminals!
But you know, it'll never stop until inhlanzi enkulu ibanjwe isiwe ejele. Lento yobantu bezinhlanzane eziningi uba sejele, ezinhlanzi ezinkulu zibola usuka kwinhloko yoThemsila. Soze iphele ukhwaphilizo apha kweli phondo. And then unemployment. This is the biggest tragedy, Mr. Mashaba. I saw you taking pictures with some young kids. We have the highest unemployment in the country. Over 42%. Our youth unemployment is 70%. That means 7 out of 10 children, young people, are not in work, and if you haven't got a job by the age of 30, you'll never get a job in this country. The Premier told us in the State of the Province address, and the Premier told us in the State of the Province address, bayazivusa i-industrial parks nase-Fort Jackson, nase-Bizana, nase-Tuva. They haven't done that. Konto yenzekayo pha. Kubiyelwe nje phaya, kodwa konto eqhubekayo. Zintsomi njena esixelelwayo nguNkulunkulu wephondo. Health. Our clinics, our state-run facilities are unmaintained. Chronic medicines run out. There's a shortage of doctors and medical staff, and means that indigent patients, abantu abadala abahluphekileyo, balinde ixesha elide uyofika kwisibhedlele nakugqirha. There was a case of a person that came to my attention this week that needed an orthopedic operation. They broke their leg. They waited for 6 weeks in the provincial hospital. 6 weeks without an operation until it got infected, and will all most likely lose their leg. Housing. Asinamizi, kodwa imali yezindlu sibuyisela every year. We send housing money back to the provincial treasury. And then there's an underutilization of allocations. There are 15 dysfunctional municipalities, including 2 metros, forfeiting 100 million rand of conditional grants for underperformance and non-compliance. We can't continue sending money back to treasury. Siyayidinga la mali, sithi thina masiyinikwe loo mali siyisebenzise thina singu-Actionsa ungena kwethu kurhulumente ngo-2024. And then into zasekhaya kuyolukwa apha kweli phondo. Kodwa oonyana bethu bayabhubha njengempukane apha kweli phondo. This is a province where initiation of young men is a deep customary cultural tradition. But our young boys are dying, and nothing is being done to stop it, or everything that has been done has not stopped it. So that is the thing. Ba onyana bethu basabhubha. Inzame ebazenzile today azanelanga. Sizawulusa ngoku ngoJune noJuly. Sawuphinda soluse ngoDisemba. Onyana bethu bazawuphinda babhubhe. Because this government is overwhelmed and can't deal with challenges that affect us on a daily basis.
Take over, my Premier.
Undocumented immigrants, ungaya nakwephi ilali, ungaya nakwephi ilokishi, ungaya naphinana in this province, you will find undocumented immigrants everywhere. Townships, rural areas, cities, everywhere. They're everywhere. In conclusion, I want to say, Actionsa is hereby advising the government of the Eastern Cape that under the Premier of Oscar Mabuyane, that your days of failing to govern this province in the interest of all of its people and of neglecting to deal with the seminal issues that compound our misery of this province are coming to an abrupt end. Iintsuku zosidelela apha kweli phondo ziyaphela. We are not giving this memorandum to the Premier because we believe that he can do anything about it. Because he's been a Premier for a long time. And before him, there were other Premiers. These problems have been coming a long time. Sibanikezela le memorandum ukubaxelela ba asibathembanga babazawukwazi uyilungisa le meko. Siyabaxelela ngo-2024 siyeza ngamandla uyobakhupha apha kwezifundo. Alamazwi ndiyacela uMr Mashaba ayinikezele le memorandum kwamagosa karhulumente agalele namazwe wakhe. Herman, if you could hand this over to the representatives of the Premier, I'd appreciate it, and then you can make your own contribution. Yes, I'd need a pen too so that we can sign it. Thank you. Can you sign it too?
Thank you, Mr. Trollip. Thank you, the officials, for really having the decency to come and receive this memorandum. In my own personal experience over the last 29 years, our government has reached a stage of arrogance where when communities have got serious challenges like this, they actually go to an extent of even disregarding our request to come and receive this memorandum. So for us as Action SA, we are grateful for just receiving this. However, one thing that we are definitely sure about is the fact that we know no attention will be given to this. But whether you're going to give it attention or not, and I want to address this to the Premier, whether you are going to give the attention to this memorandum or not, one thing for sure is that we are going to mobilize South Africans to be aware about these issues that are facing them. So please make sure that you work with us as South Africans. We live in a democratic dispensation. The people who are suffering out of these issues that Athol raised, these are the people who voted you into office. These are the people whose lives and the prosperity thereof depends on you. So thank you so much for receiving this memorandum, and we will ensure that we make sure that people of the Eastern Cape, like residents of other provinces in the Republic of South Africa, are aware about these issues. So we're really very concerned. That's why I made it a point that when I received this invitation, people saying to me, people of the Eastern Cape deserve an ANC government. And I said, no, people of the Eastern Cape don't deserve the ANC government. Yes. And why people were saying people of the Eastern Cape deserve the ANC government, they are saying no, because people keep on voting the ANC government into power. And I've given them the commitment to say no longer. People of South Africa, people of the Eastern Cape are heartful. Yes. Equally heartful are people of Gauteng, people of the Western Cape, people of Limpopo. So I'm here to say to people of the Eastern Cape, please wake up. Come 2024, if you are going to allow yourself to be exploited, be abused, those days are over. And we are going to work together as partners to ensure that we can bring about a real transformation in our country. We want, come up beyond 2024, when we celebrate Freedom Day, like people are going to be enjoying Freedom Day tomorrow, it must be a totally different case. So that means, therefore, 2025, the Eastern Cape, when we now celebrate Freedom Day, it is going to be the real Freedom Day, because ANC government will be out of power here in the Eastern Cape. Thank you so much. We have to really give you this to really sign. We need 2 copies so that we can have a copy for ourselves.
Can you just sign there too, Mr. Mashaba? Can you sign there?
Haya nisifunelo shobo. Manyanya.
We've got the date, huh?
That's the last page. This is the front page.
Oh, okay. But the date is here.
Yeah,
No,
that's it. Just, yeah, and one of you can sign it, please.
Wathumela mna ke igama embuzana ekhaya Masethi umcebisi wakhe okhethekileyo eyiqonda into yokuba akunabuza nje amagosa noko ke thina ke singabacebisi sikulaa mgangatho siyacebisa. Ndizama ukuthi ke ndingukhala wakhe, ndizawuzithatha zonke ezi zinto njengomcebisi wakhe okhethekileyo ndizinike kuye. Bendifuna ulungisa nje loo nto uba noko aninikwanga zidyongo, ninikwa amakhwenkwe amakhulu.
Thank you very much. Siyabulela nangalo mazwi wakho. Sibulele kuwe kakhulu President ukusenzela isidima esikhulu kangaka uba lapha nathi siyabulela. Siyabulela kakhulu ngento eniyenzileyo namhlanje. You made us really proud. You were disciplined, you were on time, you were professional, you were green. But Mr. Mashaba asked me to tell you, don't go home with Kalapanji. Go home and tell people that they can have a different problem. They can have change. Each one bring one. In fact, each one bring 10. For 2024, into Magaza Nabatu by 10.
When I was invited to this event, and I felt the need to really be here because The Eastern Cape is one of those provinces. I worked very hard in the 80s selling hair care products and established a close relationship with the region. As much as, yes, we were living under an evil system of apartheid, but people had dignity, people had services to some extent. And if I look at it 29 years into our democracy, like tomorrow people are supposed to be enjoying Freedom Day. Now tell me, how can anyone ever enjoy Freedom Day when 70% of your youth are unemployed? When your province is the mega capital of the country? When women in this country, 10,000 women are being raped every month? So all these issues are of very serious concern. When Athol and the team invited me to be part of the group to come and present this memorandum to the Premier, I felt obliged that I have to come and really send a signal. And we invited structures from across this province, and I'm really glad with how things went. Do we expect to get a positive response from the Premier? If they really had the intention, they would have done it 29 years ago. Because every time when you raise issues with the ANC government, it looks like you make them actually worse. So, but at the end of the day, we live in a democratic dispensation. We really feel as Actionsa, we are going to hold the government accountable. We are going to ensure that people of the Eastern Cape wake up to the reality of voting for the ANC or not voting at all. Because what is actually happening in our country today is not a question of people voting for the ANC. People are staying away from voting because they are under impression by not voting, they are punishing the ANC. Actionsa is committed. We're going to work hard. We're going to work 48 hours a day to ensure that our people wake up to understand that the only way we can really save this country and fix it beyond 2024 outside the ANC is by them voting. So I'm really pleased with the outcome of this and hope that we can bring about a new dispensation come 2024.
Oh, no.